Fox Sports Radio's Odd Couple. One guy's married, one guy is divorced, one guy has no kids, one guy has two beautiful daughters, one guy went to college in a cornfield.
We are heading into overtime on 1620 The Zone. Shock the system. Welcome to the After Hours Lounge on 1620 The Zone, the 1620 The Zone app, and 1620thezone.com. When 6A to 6P isn't enough, the boys have you covered. Here's Jimmy Allen
and John Schreiner.
Somehow it's raining in Nebraska again. It just doesn't end anymore.
Finally.
We are just
I was getting worried.
Permanently in a monsoon for the rest of our lives as the precipitation continues to fall from the sky here in Omaha. That's John Schreiner, Jimmy Allen, Dan Campion. The prodigal son has returned from his trek up north. Brody Heidemann was with us tonight as well. Great show lined up for you. Lincoln Riley. Some are calling him a coward. Does John Schreiner agree? We will find out. The Pro Football Power Index has been released. Do we agree with it? Spoiler alert, I do not. We buy or sell on Kansas City Chiefs having more legal issues. Grant Hansen from Husker Online and On3 stops by to talk about Nebraska's baseball trek against Florida tomorrow. You can get a hold of us at 402-951-1620. You can follow the show at After Hours 1620 on as well. We are brought to you by Bellevue University. If you are a high school senior and you haven't decided where you're going to college this fall, have the premier college experience at bellevue.edu. Nebraska will play on Friday twice this season, famously against Illinois, which we've already discussed.
We've been over that.
But they will also play on Friday against Iowa. Now, that happens all the time.
Nebraska's played on Friday after Thanksgiving for a very long time.
It was first Oklahoma, then Colorado, now Iowa. The difference is that game is...
They did one with Wisconsin.
That game is usually played at either 2:30 or 11 o'clock. Not this year. Nebraska has been moved to NBC in a night game against Iowa on Black Friday. The CBS day game will be Minnesota versus Wisconsin for the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe, and that will be at 11, leading into Chiefs Raiders, which will also be on Black Friday this year, which is very weird. I love this. I think this is great. I am a big fan of Memorial Stadium being able to be as lubed up as it possibly can be in a big time game. And this, listen, it's going to be probably a little chilly outside. Fan base is going to need to have something in their bellies to keep them warm. Why not a little bit of Grandpa's old cough syrup? Make sure it's as loud and as ruckus in there as you possibly can. When you're about to win your 10th football game of the season against your hated rival.
Lie.
But I like the fact that there's going to be more time. There is a plethora of night games this season, and I am very excited about that because that tells me one thing: the people that are in the know, the TV folks, believe in Nebraska.
Well, the numbers don't lie. It doesn't really matter how good or bad Nebraska is. They still get a big TV
They have
audience.
not. There was 2 night games last year. There's not been a ton of night games the past 6 seasons, and for good reason. They're just trying to bury Nebraska as far down as they can. We got the rest of the majority of the announcements came out today. The UTEP game against or the game against UTEP on August 31st will be at 2:30 on Big Fox, which was really surprising to me. The fact that that's not a Big Ten game is a little shocking. Obviously, Colorado we knew was going to be at 6:30 on NBC. UNI on September 14th will be at 6:30 on BTN. Illinois, as we already said, will be that Friday night game at 7 o'clock on Fox. Purdue will be an 11 a.m. kick. Rutgers will either be an 11 a.m. or 2:30 game. Indiana will be an 11, 2:30, 3, or 6:30 game. Ohio State will either be an 11 or 2:30 game. And this is where it gets weird. The USC game is either going to be a 2:30, a 3 o'clock, 6:30, or 10 p.m. game. Welcome to Big Ten After Dark, folks. It is now a thing. Obviously, that game being played out in LA will determine whether or not both teams are good. Get your energy drinks in while you can before that one. And then obviously we just stated that Iowa got moved. The one game that we got zero information from today was the UCLA game. Now, obviously the Bruins come to Lincoln to play that game. A little surprising we didn't hear about that when we kind of got the gist on everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just they're not sure which network it's going to be on yet. I don't know who's going to get the rights to that one, perhaps. But the rest of them, the only thing, I don't care about kickoff times. Like whenever they're on,
Okay.
I'm gonna watch it. Like it doesn't matter to me. Like maybe I'm calling a soccer game and I have to record it. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't really.
Do you? I mean,
I just
do you
like,
feel one way or another about the fact that the Iowa game traditionally played at 11 or 2:30 at night?
again. Who cares? They're gonna play the game. It's gonna be fun. It's Black Friday. It's Iowa.
You don't think it's going to be more of a hostile environment?
I mean, maybe, possibly, but if that game's at 11 or if it's at 6:30, I'm like, what's the difference? Who cares?
John, did you know that Dan, did you know that John hated fun? Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Of course, he doesn't want football games on Fridays
I don't,
that aren't the Iowa game.
because high school football season's mostly over by then.
He believes that the NFL should be played only on Sunday and Monday. Give Thursdays back to college
Give Thursdays
football.
back to college. I do. Yep.
And he also thinks that soccer is a fun sport.
Soccer is a fun
All bad
sport.
takes.
Those are all great takes.
Of those games, I mean, we've talked a lot about wins and losses. What game are you most excited for this season?
Oh, that's a good question. Was not expecting that. I think that Colorado is the one that is going to have a lot of juice.
Yeah.
And that one, I think, is going to be fun. And the lead up to that Colorado game, I think it's going to get a little bit vicious around here. I just feel like there's
especially if they just put it on UTEP too.
There's something in the water for that game. And I mean, that's the team that Nebraska fans hate more than any other. Like, we've done that poll question.
Yeah.
It was a wide margin.
People forget.
The only thing I underestimated was how much people hated Colorado.
Do you think that the response to that question is any different 3 years ago, pre Deion Sanders? Because it might be, but I think there's a little bit. Of
it's probably closer, but I think it's still Colorado.
I think Nebraska fans, if you could sign on the dotted line right now, 4 years ago, that hey, you're going to lose these two games to Colorado, and one's going to be in embarrassing fashion out in Boulder, but Deion Sanders is going to come to Lincoln as the head coach of Colorado, and you're going to beat them. I think every Nebraska fan in the world would have signed off on that. Because I mean, people, obviously, the second year of Scott Frost, they had that stinker against Southern Alabama, and then they go out to Colorado and they're up 17-0 in the first half, and then they just give the game away in the second half on a missed field goal at the end of the game to even tie it, and just embarrassing fashion go out there and lose in the seconds, and just kind of put a damper on the rest of the Scott Frost era. I mean, that was kind of the moment everybody collectively went, "Ooh, maybe we don't have lightning in a bottle here."
I might be honestly just most excited for the first game, just to see what everything looks like.
Because Mitch Sherman was talking to Gary and Nick the other day, and he said something really interesting. He was talking about how quickly the Nebraska run game may disappear this year. And for an offense that hung their hat on the ability to run the football in Matt Rule's first season, whether it be with the quarterback, and that's obviously not going to be a big emphasis on the offense this season. I do think Dylan Raiola will scramble a little bit, but he's not having design runs called for him. I'll promise you that.
He's not going to lead the team in rush attempts.
But it really feels like the strength of this offense is that wide receivers room. And that's incredible to say, because a year ago, you basically didn't have anybody with a pulse in that room for half the season. Everybody was injured. Guys were leaving the team.
Yep.
You had 3 true freshmen that hadn't seen a snap in college football.
A walk-on.
And now you've got guys like Jacory Barney. You've got a guy in Jalen Lloyd who basically averaged 1 catch a game last season, but every time he did, he blew the ceiling off the place.
Banks and
you've got Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nayor that have been added to the equation that looked the part when they were in front of the fans too. And I tend to agree with Mitch. Now, here's the thing, though. Is there has been so much negative connotation around that running back room. There's still a bunch of talent in there. That's to me, that's the crazy thing. Because I mean, if Gabe Ervin can stay healthy, his talent is not doubted. He's a very talented running back.
Yeah, we just haven't been able to see it.
Emmett Johnson, in the limited role he was placed into last year, looked dynamic at times.
Oh, I loved Emmett
Ramir Johnson has been buried on the depth chart every single season he's been here, and by some point in the season, he's the starter. And you've got every one of those dudes in that room right now.
And you added the guy that you love in Dante Dowdell.
And then you went out and got a former Rivals 150 guy from a Power 5 school. And we're talking about that room being the one with the biggest question mark, and the fact that it may be disappearing by the end of the Northern Illinois or the Northern Iowa game.
Yeah.
For a true freshman quarterback, and arguably the worst room in the entire roster last season.
I don't think
it's a
arguable.
Complete flip. Yeah, well, I mean, that's could have made the case for the offensive
I will
line
not hear that argument that they weren't the worst.
Yeah, it's incredible to me that it just feels like we may go from Nebraska debatably running the triple option at some point last year to looking like Texas Tech overnight, essentially.
I don't know about Texas Tech.
Yeah, but you get the point.
I get the point.
Yeah.
I do. But I do think that the questions about the running back room are not unwarranted, right? Because there's not a guy in there that's proven that over the course of an entire season they can be the dude.
You don't feel that way about him, Rahmir?
No.
And I somewhat agree with that, but I don't know if that's a fair statement to make, because it's not like he's been given a chance in week 1 and not been able to carry the ball. It's like he's got to battle through this depth chart. He's the best. I think he's the best pass blocker in that entire room. I think he's the best pass catcher out of the backfield in that entire room. Maybe Emmett Johnson's a close second. I mean, you could probably flip-flop those two guys.
Hasn't been tremendous between the tackles. I'll say that.
But see, and I think that's the rap he gets because of how small he is. But anytime he's asked to do that, he hits the hole harder than anybody in that roster. Maybe outside of Gabe Ervin, maybe. But I feel like he's just deemed as this small running back that can't do it. But every time he gets the chance to, he does it. He does it extremely well.
I think Rahmir's a good off tackle and outside runner. Between the guards, I'm not. I don't know. I don't think that's not his forte. He's more of a like one cut get up field guy. I don't find him to be a thumper at all.
I think the best interest for everybody, including the guys in the locker room and in the coaching staff, is when you have that many guys that have that many skill sets, like every one of those guys is really good at one thing. Use them situationally. Like you don't have to have one guy be the bell cow guy and just carry the ball and make sure he gets 20 touches a game. Like the days of that happening are gone anyway. Well, and I don't care where
you don't have to do that unless you have that dude.
Yeah, it's not a necessity to play football to make sure that you're turning off and handing the ball to one guy 20 times.
I mean, Alabama's done it with a backfield by committee for 12 years.
Basically, everybody has. I mean, Blake Corum got all the credit in the world the past 2 seasons, but obviously Donovan Edwards was a huge part of what Michigan was able to do in a national championship run. And obviously, that's not what we're talking about here. But if you're talking about guys that can't stay healthy or haven't really given you a reason to assert themselves as the number one, why is that even something that needs to be debated? Like, go ahead and list them on the depth chart in whatever order you want and use them situationally. Like, I think Bill Callahan was having, and I know the time 2 days that we've mentioned Bill Callahan, but I think back to when the Callahan era was at its peak. Like, you had Marlon Luck, you had Brandon Jackson, you had Cody Glenn in that room, and they were all used situationally, and it was to the betterment of everybody. It wasn't necessarily like, okay, you're not going to get 20 carries this game, but you're going to get 15. You're going to be the leading rusher. And then switch the next game because that guy's style fits. I feel like if you look at a situation like that, the rest is
and of the guys that there's one guy that I think you know exactly what he can do and where he fits and what he's good at. No, I think it's Rahmir Johnson.
Okay.
I think you know what his role can be. The rest of them, how can you trust any of them at this point?
You don't think Emmett Johnson gave you enough last season to trust him? Because I think
you might be right.
I think what you just said is the reason that he might end up being running back number one by the start of the season.
I take that back
because I feel like he's earned that coaching staff's trust.
Johnson probably earned a lot of trust last year because he did some really good things, and a lot of the good things that happened on offense were when he had the ball in his hands last season.
Right.
So,
I'm going to be interested to see how that looks this season with him specifically, because I think he specifically benefited a lot from the threat of the quarterback run game too, because obviously that's where Heinrich Haarberg kind of made his hay when Nebraska was winning. And that's going to look a lot different this year. So the way he runs the football this season, the way AJ Barthel and Glenn Thomas and Marcus Satterfield kind of designed the run plays without the threat of the quarterback run is what I'm most excited to see this year. Now you can offset that with some run pass options and things like that, but it's going to look significantly different.
I'm also interested to see, because this was a big talking point when this coaching staff took over, was the use of the fullback.
Yeah.
Just how many 2-back sets are we going to see this season? Right? It was a necessity last year. You had to have that extra blocker on the field. You needed that threat for the triple option, that stuff that they were running.
Yeah.
How often are we going to see a 2-back set? Will it be more of like a shotgun with a back, and maybe you have that H-back like in motion across the formation? Will we see that? Will
And
we
that
see
first
any,
touchdown in the spring game was to Janarian Barner, who's lined up as a fullback in that formation too.
but he's kind of playing more of like a
H-back.
slot receiver,
Yeah.
H-back kind of position now. So I wonder how much actual like traditional fullback, whether that's straight up I or offset, we will actually see this season. And I don't think it's going to be, I know it's not going to be nearly as much as we saw last year, but I think it's going to be a significant drop in the amount of 2-back sets.
Ooh. I disagree. I think there's going to be more, and
More?
I do, and because I think they want to have as much protection around Dylan Raiola as possible and make sure that their quarterbacks are standing upright. And that's not necessarily to say an under the gun to a fullback, like a dotted I formation, but having two guys in the pass block, especially if those tackles struggle, like we've seen them be able to do against the upper echelon of competition, it might almost be a necessity for how much they're going to want to throw the football this
See,
year.
I tend to think it's going to be more 2 tight end sets than it will be 2 back sets, because they have 2 tight ends that they're really high on.
But see, I don't know if I want to. I don't know if you look at Fedoni as that guy. Like he's that guy when we're talking about the passing game.
Sure.
And Nate Borkacher can do both, but I just don't know if when you're talking about making sure the quarterback is protected, that's the set they're going to want to be in. I think they're going to want to have
you
the
leave
two
one
best
in and
athletes
you send
out.
the other one out in the pattern.
I was going to say, don't you keep Borkacher in to actually block,
Chip,
and then you kind of have, your other guy is kind of a chip and dip kind of guy where
end of the line wide receiver is basically what.
Give him a knock,
use
get him out in
Fedoni
space, get him the ball, after about 5-6 yards, and let him
guys,
make his hay.
Dan's back.
Hey, there he is. Scooby-Doo and crew were out in LA this weekend, and they've unmasked the head coach of Southern California.
Too.
And the actor of Lincoln Riley is played by Scott Frost. Check it out at soundcloud.com/after. It was brought to you by Amber Press with Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate. If you want to learn more about building wealth through real estate, you want to buy or sell, maybe you're just looking for one. Call 402-493-4663 and buy with us today. We'll be right back. Give me the smoke.
Hey everybody, it's John Schreiner here for Daily Ryan Clothing. Father's Day, it's coming. It's right around the corner. We're almost to June, and you know what that means in Omaha. There's baseball on the horizon. That means Father's Day is right here as well. Don't go get Dad another Looney Tunes tie. Okay? Don't get the Velcro wallet. He doesn't like that stuff. Even though he'll smile and say thank you, he doesn't want that, right? The socks, the tie tack, get rid of all that stuff. Go to Jerry Ryan and get him a Mizzen and Maine or Johnny O polo with the Creighton logo embroidered on it. It's going to look good for the boys. He steps up to the T-Box number 1. Get him something he's going to like. Get it? Jerry Ryan, 78th and Dodge, dressing Omaha for the 50. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KBTV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Most cloudy Thursday afternoon. The high today is 78. Southeasterly wind gust possible at 25 miles per hour. Cloudy to scattered showers with thunderstorms for this afternoon and tonight. A few big places and wind gusts and isolated flash flooding also possible. Low tonight at 60. Scattered thunder showers early Friday. High tomorrow at 70. Marvin, News Watch 7. Fresh air, softball, baseball, basketball, grilling burgers in the warmth of the sun on your brand new deck. It's the finer things in life that make it enjoyable. Sportsman's Finest Deck can come build you a deck, put a cover on it, and give your house that facelift that you and it deserves. Head over to sportsmansfinest.com and have your team experience this summer. Sportsman's Finest Decks, building the finest decks in Omaha.
Spring has sprung, so get to Jerry Ryan's and celebrate. They have polos, shorts, sport coats, and golf shirts. Regular fit and trim fit, they have it all. Jerry Ryan offers $50 off any purchase of $250 or more. Spend $500 and get $100 off. If you're hitting the summer golf fundraiser circuit, spend $1,000 and Jerry Ryan will take $200 off your total purchase. Keep the 78th in Dodge and bring in spring.
You think Caddyshack, you think about an unforgettable dining experience. Stop in for Meatloaf Monday for just $10.95. Tuesdays are all about the happy with all drinks during all day happy hour. Celebrate Wednesday with after hours. Thursday is spaghetti night for $10.95 a plate. Or grab some lunch on Fridays with the $12.95 hot beef sandwich. Caddyshack, two great locations. 117th in Blondo and 180th in Harrison. The official watering hole of After Hours on 1620.
Are you ready to elevate your taste buds? Look no further than Pepper Jack, your go-to destination for bold flavors and endless choices. Dive into your mouth-watering vegetables, crisp salads, hearty fills, savory burritos, and meaty nachos. Want to set them apart? Complete customization. Choose your flavors, proteins, toppings, and sauces for a personalized culinary adventure. At Pepper Jack, it's not just a meal, it's an experience. Unleash your cravings and savor the bold taste at Pepper Jack's today. Life's too short to blend. Spice it up at Pepper Jack.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to edit it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-670-5151. That's 1-800-670-5151. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. 1-800-670-5151. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
You're listening to After Hours with Jimmy Allen on 1620 The Zone.
$6:25 on a Thursday night at Bellevue University annual college experience this fall. Register classes. Become a Bruin classes Friday. You want your classes online. You're looking to play sports at the NAIA level. More than likely, you have 31 different sports on campus. Check out Bellevue.edu. Register for classes today. It's time for the Who Wants This folks. And stop me if this sounds all too familiar to you. But Lincoln Riley wants to smoke. USC has been trying to get out of their week 1 matchup with LSU for 2 years, according to Saturday Down South. So the story comes out around the time frame of the SEC meetings that are going on. So I think we obviously know who's probably leaking this story out. Probably coming from the folks in Baton Rouge. This is the
would Brian Kelly do such a thing
with his family? This is the premier primetime game in week 1 of college football. And this is a one-off game that is not a home-and-home series. This is being paid for and played in Las Vegas by the Las Vegas Bowl. Both teams are going to receive $5 million each to play this game. But according to Saturday Down South, USC has been trying to get out of the game for 2 years. The one thing that Lincoln Riley could have tried to deflect with Jen Cohen being appointed as the AD in the last year, for her kind of fall the blame on her. That ain't going to work, because if this has been happening for 2 years, she's only been there for less than 360 days. So that's not going to happen. But the person or persons or group that are falling on the sword here is Big Fox. Allegedly, according to Saturday Down South, Fox didn't want USC's first game as a Big Ten member to be on CBS. Now, that's interesting for a few reasons, right? This is really the first problems in paradise we're hearing between Big Ten and SEC, because we've never really had, hey, the Big Ten really wants this school, but so does the SEC. It's just kind of been like, this team is leaving their conference for the Big Ten. This team is leaving their conference for the SEC. Hey, the Big 12 just gets everybody else.
Yeah, they've kind of been like robber barons, just dividing up the teams evenly.
This is almost the first shot in a Cold War that we've had over the last 5 to 6 years of the scramble to get the who's of college athletics. Now, is it a problem with the Big Ten, or is it a problem with Fox? Say, hey, this is the first year we have the shiny new toy in USC, and we want to make sure that Fox is represented here. And obviously, this game is going to be on CBS because LSU is technically the home team in this equation.
Fox's studios are in Los Angeles. USC is also in Los Angeles.
And it begs the question, is this the TV partners willing to be the scapegoat in this situation, or has Lincoln Riley really just kind of been tucking tails? And there's always been that narrative out there, because Lincoln Riley famously left Oklahoma days after the announcement that they were joining the SEC.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how much that narrative comes around. And I wonder if there's going to be signs in the crowd from the LSU faithful pointing out that Lincoln Riley was terrified of the Tigers.
Oklahoma said, "Hey, Lincoln Riley, we're going to the SEC," and he said, "Who's we?"
Yeah, no, you're going to the SEC.
Who's we? I don't know if, man, it's hard for me to judge, right? Because I think as fans, it's easy to say like, "Oh, they're scared, they're afraid of LSU," and that's fine. And
which is a weird narrative.
I don't disagree.
But here's why it's
for
weird,
the most part.
Yeah, you're absolutely replacing Caleb Williams out at LSU, out at USC. They're replacing Jaden Daniels down at LSU. And Brian Kelly hasn't had a quarterback. It's not like Brian Kelly's got this long-term established run that's been incredibly successful in the Bayou. You know, he's kind of still getting his feet wet down there as well.
But on these kind of subjects, as fans, we also kind of talk out of both sides of our mouth. Because when a team wants to like get out of a game with another team, we say, "Oh, they're afraid, they're scared." And then when it comes time for, bracket breakdown and tournament breakdown, and it's like, well, we really like to be on the other side of the bracket from this team.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody wants the tough
we would
matchup,
like to not have to play them until the final, right?
It's almost like they're controlling the narrative, huh, Dan Campinen?
Well, it's a little bit different, John, when we go to bracket breakdown, because there are technically 63 other possibilities of who you can play within said tournament.
Sure.
Granted, wherever you place, other teams place, and all that other stuff. When it comes to making a football schedule, that's the one team that you have to play.
Actually, it's not. And normally that would be the case. But according to this article from Saturday Down South, USC has been offering up teams that would be willing to take the money to play LSU. So it's not like this is set in stone, the only thing that could happen. LSU is going, "No, we're good. Thanks. We'd like, not only do we want our $5 million, we'd like this marquee matchup. We have no interest in playing Middle Tennessee State. Thank you very much."
Yeah. But I just feel like there's a little bit of
a double standard
here. When it comes to your team and who you think and what kind of a draw you want them to get in the tournament, you'd like them to play the easiest teams that they can play. But when we talk about teams and scheduling their opponents, which they actually have control over, they get, made fun of for trying to make it a little easier on the back end. So I understand what you're saying, Dan.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of talking out of both sides of the mouth when it comes to us fans. Like, we do that. We want our team to have a favorable schedule, but we want to make fun of other teams for trying to get a favorable schedule for themselves.
I would normally tend to agree with you here in this situation, but like, this is the same coach that was at Oklahoma when he saw Scott Frost trying to get out of this game and all the backlash that he saw for it. Now, maybe Lincoln Riley just felt like he was bulletproof, and we've got as many Heisman Trophy winners as Lincoln Riley does under his belt. Maybe he's right, but there's also the fact that he might have thought he wouldn't have been caught either. And obviously, the LSU contingents went, "Hey, Saturday Down South, you want a scoop? We got one for you."
Because, okay, think about it this way. Like, say he gets what he wants and they get out of the game. The story's coming out then. It's like, USC's not playing LSU now. Who didn't want it? Lincoln Riley.
Well, then you could spin the Fox narrative, though. Like, there's a way to, like, again, back to controlling the narrative. When you have the ability to spin the story you want, if you get that game canceled, you could beat everybody to the press and say, we decided to pivot on this so we could make sure that our school, USC, that is now an affiliate with the Big Ten, is being represented on Big Ten station Fox at Big Noon kickoff for the very first game. This was a uniform decision by us, the parties at hand, and the TV contracts to make sure that USC was on Fox their very first Big Ten game. Aren't we great? Go Big Ten.
That whole thing makes it a little more difficult to sort through.
Sure.
The waters are a little muddier than just clear cut, black and white. This is what happened.
And in case anybody's wondering, nobody believes that narrative, but go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, the job of a football coach is to win games. And if you can get games that are easier to win than ones that aren't easier to win, like, why would you not try to do that?
This reminds me a lot of last year's LSU versus Florida State.
That's the other thing, is like, USC is the team that's quote unquote running here, right? But LSU's coming off a really big first game in prime time a year ago that kind of backtracked their season after they lost to Florida State in that opener.
Yeah.
So it's not like they have this long tradition of like screwing up everybody's seasons by having these big wins. And we don't know, like, LSU has a ton of questions coming into next season too. So it's not like you're running into this big scary monster. You're not playing Georgia in week 1. You're not, it's not like you're going to go up against Ohio State. You have two teams with a lot of question marks on it.
But if they could get LSU off the schedule and get Texas State instead.
What happens if you lose to Texas State?
Well, I doubt that they're losing to Texas
Who would you
State.
rather lose to? It's one thing if this is week 3, right? I think this is a little less of note if it's like buried in the schedule a little bit.
Yeah.
This is the premier game in the first week of college football.
What bothers me the most about all of this is the fact that Lincoln Riley for years has kind of put himself on a pedestal and said, I am one of the premier college football coaches of our generation right now. Look at me. I'm Lincoln Riley. Look at all these quarterbacks I've gotten Heismans. And then you want to duck out of a game that you couldn't. Let's be fair. You have a good shot of winning. It just makes no sense.
I think USC is going to take a step back this season.
Against, but is so much better.
I want to be clear. I don't like it. I think it's a bad look for him and his school and the program that he's trying to build. I don't like it. So I'm not trying to defend it. What I'm trying to do is bring the rationale of why it would make sense for them to do it.
I don't think anybody doesn't understand that though, right? I mean, 10 wins is better than 9.
Absolutely.
And that's probably what USC is looking at without that LSU schedule. I mean, that their schedule isn't exactly easy this season, but
now ultimately with the 12-team playoff, you've just got to have the best record you possibly can.
Yeah, and Matt Rule has famously talked about that over the last couple of weeks.
You just got to pile up as many wins as you can.
We'd really like the front end of that schedule to look a little bit easier down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think like from that perspective, you're trying to get in the playoff, man. And LSU's a tough game. That's a SEC school with a long tradition that gets high-level recruits, that recruits at the same or better level than you do. You can get that game off the schedule. You love that, no matter how much people make fun of you.
I'm going to put your feet to the fire here. I'm not going to hold you to this. Do you think a 9-3 team makes the playoff this year?
I do not.
I don't either. That was the social media soundbite. If you missed it, check it out at soundcloud.com/after hours.
Who Wants to Smoke?
It was the Who Wants to Smoke segment. It was brought to you by 402 Barbecue. parties are right around the corner. It's eventually, and I promise you, take this to the bank, it's going to stop raining. And I'm sure Dad doesn't want to empty out the bank account to cook burgers for everybody and stand behind the grill while everybody else is having a good time. Have 402 Barbecue bring their truck out to your block party or 4th of July party this year. They're also going to bring your shaved ice with them. Call Kelly and the crew at 402-618-8274 and have the 402 Barbecue truck come cater your event as they catered the Who Went for Smoke segment tonight. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Bob Williams of Williams Law. Summertime is nearly here, and we all know somebody that gets after it a little bit too much. You know what I'm talking about. DUIs are expensive, dangerous, and just not worth it. But if you or somebody you know is facing a DUI charge, call 402-522-6317 today. Let Williams Law help walk you through the process and explain your rights more important. 402-522-6317 and get free, no obligation consultation for your DUI charge today with Williams Law.
The dream of playing the sport you love may be closer than you think. The Bellevue University Athletic Department proudly sports the best scholarship funding among NAIA programs in the state. To compete with the best, we need to recruit the best. All incoming freshmen earn a $5,000 scholarship when they enroll at Bellevue University. Learn more by looking us up at BUBruins.com and reach out to your future coach today.
When you think Caddyshack, you think about an unforgettable dining experience. Stop in for Meatloaf Monday for just $10.95. Tuesdays are all about the happy with dollar drinks during all-day happy hour. Celebrate a Wing Wednesday with After Hours. Thursday is Spaghetti Night for $10.95 a plate. Or grab some lunch on Fridays with the $12.95 hot beef sandwich. Caddyshack. 2 great locations off of 117th and Blondo and 180th and Harrison. The official watering hole of After Hours on 1620 The Zone.
Fresh air, softball, baseball, basketball, grilling burgers, and the warmth of the sun on your brand new deck. It's the finer things in life that make it enjoyable. Forsman's Finest Decks can come build you a deck, put a cover on it, and give your house that facelift that you and it deserves. Head over to forsmansfinest.com to have your dream experience this summer. Forsman's Finest Decks, building the finest decks in Omaha.
Ready to make a positive impact in a young boy's life? Join Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Midlands and become a mentor where you are matched up with a boy in the greater Omaha area. Over 50 boys are waiting for someone like you to guide and inspire them. Visit mentoromaha.org and sign up to make a difference in a boy's life. Don't wait. Make a lasting impact today.
Spring has sprung, so get to Jerry Ryan's and celebrate. They have polos, shorts, sport coats, and golf shirts. Regular fit and trim fit, they have it all. Jerry Ryan offers $50 off any purchase of $250 or more. Spend $500 and get $100 off. If you're hitting the summer golf fundraiser circuit, spend $1,000 and Jerry Ryan will take $200 off your total purchase. Get to 78th and Dodge and bring in spring.
At Jerry Ryan's, we bring out the best in you.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal are coupons valued at $50 on sale for just $25 to the Woodcliff Restaurant at Woodcliff Lake in Fremont. It's perfect for a romantic dinner or to bring the whole family to enjoy a culinary treat for any special occasion. $50 on sale for just $25 to the Woodcliff Restaurant at Woodcliff Lake in Fremont. This week's half-off deal.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com. Now back to After Hours with Jimmy Allen on 1620 The Zone.
640. What is happening right now?
I'm trying to get cute with the music cues, and it's not working. So how
ulcerative
about this?
colitis? Okay. Thanks, YouTube ads. Speaking of ads,
UC's no joke.
We are brought to you by Bellevue University. The Bruins are no joke. And if you want to keep up to date on all their conference-winning championship teams, you can do so by downloading the BU Bruins app tonight. Dan, we will always be pro anti-UC on this show. So
pro anti-UC.
Of course. Shout out Intivio.
There you go.
Whose
Intivio.
commercial we cut off.
That was a free ad for you. What else
Would
is
they
free?
like to sponsor the show?
You know what else is free? You can go over to ESPN right now.
I'll call out all the drug companies. Come on, folks.
The 4-letter network and find the Pro Football Power Index, or the PFPI, as some people refer to it as, which lists the power rankings of the NFL's 32 teams as it stands today, May 30th. Rightfully so. The best team in football is at the top of the list. No, it is not the defending two-time champions.
Yeah.
It is the San Francisco 49ers. Now, here's the thing. I agree with the sentiment that the San Francisco 49ers, from a roster standpoint, are the best team in football. And it is very hard to argue that point. When you have Christian McCaffrey and that defense and Kyle Shanahan calling the plays, you throw George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuels and the best left
Juwan
tackle
Jennings
in football.
just got a huge contract.
It's hard to argue that is the best roster assembled in football. Here's the problem. The guy that wears 15 in Kansas City, Missouri is still there.
Yeah.
And as good as Kyle Shanahan is a play caller, and I think he's the second best play caller in football, the best play caller in football is still in Kansas City, Missouri. And I will bow down and tip my cap to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes until somebody proves to me that they can knock them off the top of the world, because nobody's been able to do it up until this point, except for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers when Kansas City was playing with a Swiss cheese offensive line. I still, if I'm making this list, I would still put Kansas City at the top. And maybe the Rashee Rice thing has a little bit to do with it, and the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs just can't stay out of legal trouble. We don't even know who's going to be available on that team. Maybe that's got something to do with it. But for my money, I think San Francisco has the best roster. I think Kansas City is the best team.
And FPI doesn't care what you think
True.
about these teams.
That's true. It's
FPI
all number based.
Is a statistical analysis. It is looking at the data and saying who has the best chance to win the whole thing.
Shout out to the nerds.
That's what it is. These are the nerd rankings. And my brethren have decided that the 49ers have the best roster and the best chance to win. So as far as do I agree?
Trust me, I hope they're right.
Do I agree?
I'm just giving my synopsis.
I mean, I don't know how you disagree with numbers.
For the third consecutive year, the numbers.
I disagree with the number 3.
Speaking of which, for the third consecutive year,
it's got too many curves.
The Panthers have been ranked as the last team on this list. Are we starting to talk about a shortened leash with Bryce Young, and if he can't get it fair? Because I mean, we're talking about a franchise that's fired coaches in one season, and they don't really seem like they have it together.
Thanks, Panthers.
Yeah, they don't really seem. Well, that was 3 seasons, but they don't really seem to have a grasp on how to figure this thing out, and they don't seem really shy about turnover.
Well, their owner's not very good.
Also, their owner's not very good and gets drinks thrown in his face by their fan base. I really hope that's not the case, and I hope they give him a little bit longer of a runway. But if it goes south quick again this year, I don't know how quickly they move on from him, and I hope it's not that fast.
He likes to go into restaurants and take hats off of restaurant hosts and tell them that their sign is offensive.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Dave Tepper?
Yes.
Yeah. When the restaurant that had the sign out front.
He just doesn't read the room well.
No.
It's most millionaires and billionaires don't.
He doesn't read the field very well, apparently, either.
No, he doesn't really understand what his role within the franchise is. He thinks he's the GM.
He thinks he's Jerry Jones.
He does. And he's very much not Jerry Jones.
He thinks he's a decision maker, and I think that's a little bit of the problem when you have a businessman.
I think the head coach of the Nebraska football team would agree with you.
Yeah. I know he would.
Yeah.
Matt, 951-1620.
Yeah,
Give us a call.
Matt and Lincoln.
But yeah, it's a problem when you have a guy who doesn't really want to relinquish control in his like daily life as the head of your football organization and
lived
the owner
through it
of
for
your football
so many
organization
years as a Commanders fan.
Yeah.
So many.
Got Dan Snyder takes.
Oh.
None of them good.
To me, the most interesting number on this entire list, though,
Can't say those words on the radio,
is at 15, because the Atlanta Falcons are the highest ranked NFC South team on this list, which means, and according to the FBI, they are the odds-on favorite to win the NFC South. Now, here's the problem, if there is one, with that. You're talking about a team who is hinging their season on a quarterback that is north of 34 years old coming off of an injury. And if you wonder how that can go negatively, ask the New York Jets. They'll tell you about it. how much faith do you have in this Atlanta team? Because outside of the quarterback position, they are really good run game. That defense is really good left side of that offensive line. They obviously have some explosive weapons at wide receiver too, but it's all going to hinge on a 35-year-old Kirk Cousins. Now, it helps that the NFC South is not very good. That does help. You got to play the Panthers twice, you got to play the Falcons twice, and
the Saints.
Who knows? Who knows what the Saints are going to be, right?
Yeah,
and it's one of those things.
Has Derek Carr figured it out?
Yeah, probably not. Spoiler alert. But
maybe.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of the Falcons this year. I think they're maybe the most intriguing team.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The one that I found super interesting was a team that a lot of people probably would have in their like mental rankings way higher is the Dolphins.
Yeah, and
the Dolphins check in at 11. I think there are a lot of people out there just like if you're running down who are the best teams in the league, Dolphins are probably like top 6 or 7.
Yeah, especially when you can have a healthy A-chain, that running game room, that running back room is healthy, and Tua can stay healthy. But man, it just kind of feels like that window is open for one more season for that team.
It feels like a lot of people would put the Dolphins ahead of the Bills this season.
Yeah, the Bills came in at 5 on this list, by the way.
Right. So
top 4, I want to make sure or top 5 we put out there: San Francisco, Kansas City, Baltimore, Detroit, and Buffalo were the top 5.
And Kansas City just trailing Buffalo, just barely at 6.
Dallas
trailing Buffalo at 6.
That's right. I just said the Falcons get to play the Falcons twice a year a minute ago.
So the Dolphins are really interesting because this is the kind of they've been the media darlings because of the way they play the game, right? They have loads of speed. And
head coach is a little bit of a weirdo.
Their head coach is a weirdo. You've got,
they beat the Broncos by 70.
They draft all the fast guys, and then
ask Al Davis how that worked out. Rest in peace.
Last season, they beat up on all the bad teams by a wide margin. And when they played good teams, they kind of got shown the door, right? Like, they just got tossed out the window against teams that had a pulse.
It's a kind way to describe it, John.
Dan, shut up. I'm going to let you talk in a second because I want your opinion on something. John Schreiner, I want your opinion on this first. Houston is projected at 9.6 wins this season and just sits outside of the top 10, as we just alluded to a minute ago, or inside the top 10, excuse me, as we alluded to a minute ago. They play the NFC North this year, who is a much improved division. The Texans played the NFC South last year, which we just talked about. Could we look at this year with CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryans and that staff taking a step back just because the level of competition is going to take a significant jump up this year?
It'll be interesting to see because I believe in the first year quarterback theory that there are times when whether it's a first year quarterback or when the backup comes into play for a little bit,
there's no film
on them. You don't quite know what their tendencies are. You don't know how to defend them appropriately. There's a full season of tape on CJ Stroud now.
Tank Dell's getting shot.
And this will be the prove it season for CJ Stroud. Are you the guy we saw last year, or are you just another guy?
And your knee-jerk reaction tells you what?
He's going to be the guy.
I think he's going to be the guy as well. I just could see a little bit of a sophomore slump. I think I'm going to take the under on them. I think they win exactly 9 games this season, but I think it's enough to get to the playoffs. All right.
Yay!
Here's your flowers.
My turn.
We talked about the top 10 sitting exactly at the first double-digit number is the Packers of Green Bay. As a owner of the franchise, Dan Campenden, talk about your boys. You think are they legit top 10 team?
Top 2, and they're not number 2.
Okay, that's not true, but give us your real thoughts.
Well, obviously, they're better than the San Francisco 49ers. So they're the best team in the entire
The results
league.
of that playoff game and that dinner you bought us last year would disagree, but keep going.
Yeah. But no, I think number 10, I would say properly rated. I've got a lot of problems with the ESPN FPI, but you can't argue with the numbers and the analytics of it all, as John alluded to earlier.
You can, I did it.
I think number 10 is probably the most appropriate spot for
I think
the
it is fitting. I think that's right where they should be.
They brought in a lot of great rookie talent that they tend to do a very good job developing.
That's very true.
Jordan Love is kind of set to have another jump this season, hopefully. Be what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
The wide receiver room is looking very healthy this year. Christian Watson, of all people, from all of the training camp footage that we have seen so far, he looks healthy and he looks ready to go. Finally.
Yeah.
It's taken so long for us to get him to a place where he is actually going to be able to play meaningful football and be a big time contributor to this franchise. And I think he's finally there.
And you guys added Josh Jacobs to that running back. Obviously, it was Aaron Jones, but you add Josh Jacobs, that running back room. That gets really, really interesting. Romeo Dobbs in another season in that offense is going to be interesting.
Yep.
I think there's.
And if you've seen pictures of AJ Dillon, did my boy get beefy?
Yeah, dude got yoked. I just have so many questions about that offensive line. Obviously, Packers went offensive tackle for a reason with their first overall pick, but it's really odd to say that about a Matt LaFleur coach team. It's like, we don't know if we're gonna get out of the offensive line, but if history has told you anything, that dude knows what he's doing when it comes to running the football and coaching offensive line. So I think they're going to be fine. You know who was not going to be fine? Second base umpires. If calls keep going wonky in Major League Baseball this season, we're going to talk about it on the other side of the break. We come back here on the After Hours Lounge here on 1620 The Zone.
Hey everyone, it's Dan Campanen here for all 10, yes I said it, 10 locations of Pepper Jack's Grill. I've been telling you for a while about a steak gunner Philly. I know it makes your mouth water every night, and it should, but do you know that Pepper Jack's has healthy options too? You can get a salad or French fries. What more could you want? Stop by and grab dinner healthy or otherwise at Pepper Jack's. 10 great locations right now.
Are you looking to be part of a winning tradition? The Bellevue University Bruins could be the right fit for you. Whether on the court or on the field, track or course, our student athletes strive and succeed. This year, Bellevue teams and individuals have combined to win 11 conference championships, with 8 teams qualifying for their national tournaments. Plus, nearly 50 student athletes were also named to all conference teams. Find out more about our tradition of excellence at BUBruins.com.
Henry Dorley Zoo has done it again, Omaha. Omaha Zoo isn't just #1 in your heart. It's also back to being ranked America's #1 zoo. Chesterman Coca-Cola and Hy-Vee are celebrating being #1 from April till May. Stop by any local Hy-Vee and get a 6-pack of your favorite Coke products in mini cans, just 3 for $11. From now through May 14th, Henry Dorley Zoo is #1, and you can be too with Chesterman Coca-Cola and Hy-Vee this April.
Going Vertical Basketball Academy is the premier sports performance training facility in the Midwest. Working with athletes as young as kindergarten all the way to college and the pros, GVBA offers a variety of packages from individual workouts to group sessions. They also offer elite-level sports performance training for athletes of all sports. Check out the Academy at 10700 Sapp Brothers Drive in Omaha or at GoingVerticalOmaha.com. That's GoingVerticalOmaha.com.
Fresh air, softball, baseball, basketball, grilling burgers, and the warmth of the sun on your brand new deck. It's the finer things in life that make it enjoyable. Forsman's Finest Decks can come build you a deck, put a cover on it, and give your house that facelift that you and it deserves. Head over to forsmansfinest.com to have your dream experience this summer. Forsman's Finest Decks, building the finest decks in Omaha.
When you shop local, you help strengthen our community. So if you need roof repair, gutters, siding, even windows, call local Pyramid Roofing. They're the #1 roofer in Omaha for more than a dozen years. Let Pyramid Roofing come and give you a free estimate. Give them a call at 402-502-9300. That's 402-502-9300. Or visit them online at
PyramidRoof.com. Never settle for less.
When you think Caddyshack, you think about an unforgettable dining experience. Stop in for Meatloaf Monday for just $10.95. Tuesdays are all about the happy with dollar drinks during all-day happy hour. Celebrate a Wing Wednesday with After Hours. Thursday is Spaghetti Night for $10.95 a plate. Or grab some lunch on Fridays with the $12.95 hot beef sandwich. Caddyshack, 2 great locations off of 117th and Blondo and 180th and Harrison. The official watering hole of After Hours on 1620 The Zone.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/radio. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at HIMS, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/radio and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
You're spending $300 a month. Binge drinking is the most common form of excessive drinking, which costs the United States more than $191 billion each year. By drinking less, you will save $300 a month. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
You are listening to After Hours with Jimmy Allen on 1620 The Zone.
Are we doing radio by the same answer?
Not at all.
Never on this broadcast, which is brought to you by Bellevue University. Dan's been away for a while. They're over at Bellevue.edu. I think it was cool to fall online or in not a cool class on Friday. Bellevue.edu.
Dan went to Michigan and came back.
Dan needs like 5 minutes during by yourself, like more in a very serious. Bill Walton, baby.
Oh, that's right. So this was that was
no one's caught on to the fact that every single transition song tonight has been the Grateful Dead.
Well, no, I know. We're
oh, thank God.
Caught off a silly acts awareness, whatever you're playing.
Also, did play it.
You're in Michigan.
No surprising that any of my friends while I was there. Busy moving.
Oh, it's not social media, which is not Bill Walton tonight.
Do you like snacks, Billy?
We should have just done like a week tribute to Bill Walton. Every night, the social media soundbite is now just Bill Walton for the rest of the time. Just shirtless, eating cupcakes that are on fire. What else could you want? You ready?
But it's not.
Okay, but it's not.
This is what it is.
All right, yeah, go ahead and pause here because Aaron Boone drops an explicitive, and you can vaguely hear it on the camera.
Aaron Boone curses?
So what happens here is obviously, and you heard it there, Giancarlo Stanton pops a ball up to second base, and Juan Soto was leading off from second and tries to get back and has to basically contort himself around the shortstop for the Angels to try to get back on base. And they call him out for interfering with the catch. And I know this call is getting a lot of flack, but something had to be decided here, and I don't hate this call. I know you guys are probably expecting me to take the Yankees approach here, but it's one of those things that, like, he didn't necessarily interfere with the catch, but he didn't, like, necessarily not interfere with the catch. Like, I think he did everything in his power not to, but it still happened. So, I mean, a really tough spot for the umpire.
Yeah, you can see in the video.
He makes a concentrated effort to get out of the way.
He's trying to like barely like big toe tap the base in between the guy's legs. And he's like, I have to get back to second. That's how this game works.
Here's the thing though. Like, and this is maybe a bad analogy, but like if you're trying not to go 90 miles an hour and you're still going 90 miles an hour, you're still going 90 miles an hour, right?
If I can ask you,
he was trying not to interfere with this catch, but he very much did. I don't know how he couldn't have, but
if I can ask you a serious question though, Jimmy,
yeah,
are you less mad about this because not but a day after this happened, Anthony Volpe basically could have gotten called for interference,
it was
but
clearly a
instead gets it
reaction
inside
call.
the park home
Yeah,
run?
it was clearly a reaction call, and I think I'm probably a little less upset about this because the Yankees went on to win the game, shockingly enough, against the
Yankees
who
won.
suck. But yeah, it's man, there's just such and this is what we love about baseball, though, right? Is like there's so much interpretation to what is and isn't legal, and it's all human error. That it's all part of the game. Rest in peace, Angel Hernandez. He's not dead though.
It's been dead to us for years, though.
True.
You like mistakes.
I don't like mistakes. I like the fact that we leave the game open to interpretation and that it can be a factor in what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. With this one, it is interference. It's the correct call.
Dan, did you know if Steve Perry was alive or not?
Steve Perry is alive.
Okay. we started killing people on the show.
No, we did nothing of the sort.
John was over here trying to just tell us
No.
everybody was dead.
No, we didn't do that.
That was a social media stuff tonight. Yankees are I got a good feeling about a post the Yankees of New York down the stretch.
I'm surprised you say that when baseball is over.
Speaking of which, you know how I feel really good about Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to rub it in Dan's face. We'll get back to this out of the break. 16 seconds. Is your business transitioning and it's going as awful as that music transition just happened there? Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Pixel Fire Marketing. Dan DeSive and crew can help you rebrand your company and make sure that your business has a new logo, a different designed website, and you have social media ads that are converting to in real-time business for your company today. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com to have a website built, a logo design, or maybe you're just trying to make sure that the ads that you're running on Meta represent you the way they should. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com tonight.
Graduation season will be here before you know it, and you can have the 402 barbecue truck come to your party or event you're hosting. Stop by the brick and mortar on 84th and Spring and try the food. Then, when you get the craving, come back and book the food truck to be the caterer for your event. Graduations, company outings, community events, they do it all. 402 Barbecue at 3027 South 84th Street. Stop by today and grab lunch.
When you shop local, you help strengthen our community. So if you need roof repair, gutters, siding, even windows, call local Pyramid Roofing. They're the #1 roofer in Omaha for more than a dozen years. Let Pyramid Roofing come and give you a free estimate. Give them a call at 402-502-9300. That's 402-502-9300. Or visit them online at
PyramidRoof.com. Never settle for less.
Henry Dorley Zoo has done it again, Omaha. Omaha Zoo isn't just #1 in your heart. It's also back to being ranked America's #1 zoo. Chesterman Coca-Cola and Hy-Vee are celebrating being #1 from April till May. Stop by any local Hy-Vee and get a 6-pack of your favorite Coke products in mini cans, just 3 for $11. From now through May 14th, Henry Dorley Zoo is #1, and you can be too with Chesterman Coca-Cola and Hy-Vee this April.
Fresh air, softball, baseball, basketball, grilling burgers, and the warmth of the sun on your brand new deck. It's the finer things in life that make it enjoyable. Forsman's Finest Decks can come build you a deck, put a cover on it, and give your house that facelift that you and it deserves. Head over to forsmansfinest.com to have your dream experience this summer. Forsman's Finest Decks, building the finest decks in Omaha.
Spring has sprung, so get to Jerry Ryan's and celebrate. They have polos, shorts, sport coats, and golf shirts. Regular fit and trim fit, they have it all. Jerry Ryan offers $50 off any purchase of $250 or more. Spend $500 and get $100 off. If you're hitting the summer golf fundraiser circuit, spend $1,000 and Jerry Ryan will take $200 off your total purchase. Get to 78th and Dodge and bring in spring.
At Jerry Ryan's, we bring out the best in you.
Hey fellas, listen up. Are you or someone you know ready to make that big day unforgettable? Look no further than Lovebound Media, your go-to for capturing the epic moments of your wedding. With Lovebound, it's not just about photos and videos, it's about creating a story that screams you. From the jaw-dropping shots to the heart-pounding video edits, they'll make sure your wedding day is nothing short of legendary. So if you're ready to say I do to memories that'll make you feel like a king, hit them up at Lovebound Media today. Let's make magic happen.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone.
It's 7:07 on a Thursday night here on 1620 The Zone. Brody Heidemann is filling in for Dan Campion because he's busy asking us questions in the buy or sell segment like this one.
Jimmy.
Hey, it's me.
My good friend Ben Geezer was telling me all the trash you were talking about my T-Wolves. And 2 nights ago, my boy Ant-Man walked into Dallas and stole a game. Buy or sell, Minnesota can battle their way back into this series and obviously win.
Sell hard. And here's why. Listen, when Minnesota walked into Denver and did what they did to the defending champions, I would have been willing to hear this if this was a 2-1 deficit. But to win 4 straight games in an NBA setting is almost impossible. Do I think they got a chance to make it interesting? I do. But if Luka Doncic hits that free throw after that made 3-pointer that had no business going in, we might be having a different conversation here anyway, and this series might be over. I think Big Cat and I think Ant-Man, those guys are going to make it as difficult as possible. I don't think they win 4 straight. Give me Dallas in 6.
Sam Cassell, Eric Montross, Eric Strickland.
Brody, do you know who Sam Cassell is?
I'm pretty sure he's a coach now.
He is. That is true.
He is actually. Yes, he was an assistant with Boston.
I need you to do something for me. I need you to Google a picture of Sam Cassell and tell me if he's the ugliest human being you've ever seen in the break.
Okay, I'll do that.
Dan, second question.
No second question.
You got
the
takes?
T-Wolves will win 4 straight games.
I almost got him.
Cat and Ant are the best duo that we can ever see if Cat can stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah,
and if
that's a
your
big
boy
if.
Luka can stop flopping around and jumping into people on 3-point attempts that he has no business doing because the league outlawed it 2 years ago.
Did you know Rudy Gobert can't guard him? He screamed at him like 11 times. It was awesome. He's correct, by the way.
That is the one thing I will admit that
Would he drain that shot? Just let him have it.
When Luka just screams at people, I'm like that's the nasty white boy energy that I like.
I might have woken up my 2 older children in that moment, but yelling along with him.
Cedric Ceballos,
Kevin Garnett. All right, we talked about Dr. Scott Lynch last week, the former Penn State doctor who was fired by Penn State, who alleged that James Franklin interfered with his medical evaluation of players. Today, a jury ruled in favor of Lynch, granting him $5.5 million in the wrongful termination lawsuit. Buy or sell, this spells curtains for James Franklin.
I'm selling, and here's why. Penn State and James Franklin have both appealed this, and they're fighting it. And they're stating that there's some misinformation being had here. And usually you don't do that unless you have some grounds to stand on. I think it looks like the school is backing him right now. And usually you don't pivot on that because it ends up looking like you have egg on your face. So I think he will be the coach this season for the Nittany Lions of Pennsylvania State University.
Yeah, it's a sell. He's staying.
Yeah, I think he's here for the long term too. As long as he wins. Got to beat Ohio State this year.
It doesn't matter if they beat Ohio State. They gave him too much money in that contract. He's staying. I don't know. Like, obviously, I can't say what the veracity of the claims against him are. The thing that I know is he's won quite a few games.
True.
And Penn State does not typically bail on their football coaches. Like, hello, it's Penn State. That they're going to stick with him as long as they possibly can.
You good?
We'll get to that for my non-sports question. Of the night.
Okay.
And I promise you we will. But moving on, more problems for the two-time defending champions. 2 misdemeanor warrants have been filed against Kansas City Chiefs defensive lineman Isaiah Buggs in Tuscaloosa County, Alabama, on charges of cruelty to dogs in the second degree. Buy or sell, all these off-the-field issues will affect Kansas City's ability to three-peat.
I mean, they've got to, right? I mean, how many more well, maybe is Kansas City Athens North? I mean, Georgia just keeps having all these issues pile up, and they keep winning football games. Is this the key? You just gotta break a bunch of laws, and you win championships. Apparently.
Well, so this one's interesting because all the Rashee Rice stuff we know already.
Yeah.
This one, I actually read into this case a little bit, and it seems like a big nothing to me.
Well,
because the house where the dogs were is a house that he owns, but it's a rental property, and the dogs were not his.
I would tend to agree with you here, but here's the thing to remember. In Michael Vick's case, it was a house he owned, and his cousin was occupying the property, but they were his dogs. Now, it's going to matter if it comes out if these are Isaiah Buggs' dogs or not. And that's probably where it's going to be.
He claims that they're not his.
Correct.
And the house was recently vacated by a renter. So if that's all true, and like I, again, don't know whether it is or not.
Right.
But
what can you prove in a court of law?
The way it seems right now, this is not going to come to much.
Yeah, I think he's going to actually have the charges dropped, but we'll see.
Yeah. And, obviously innocent until proven guilty. But if there is any like tiny eensy weensy shred of guilt, you're a piece of crap.
Yep.
And I will never respect
So,
you or your children again.
And here's what it sounds like happened. I was reading in this too. It sounds like the renter was there and then left the animals in the unattended house. And he happened to own the house. The cops show up. They're like, whose house is this? He's like, it's mine. They just made the connection and the charges were filed. And I'm assuming they'll be dropped after that.
As far as all this stuff affecting them off the field, like Isaiah Buggs isn't a contributor, really.
Right, but I mean, it's just one after another with
Sure.
Kansas City right now. It just seems to be problems piling up off the field. I mean, not even just from a legal standpoint. You have all the stuff about the facilities being trashed.
Harrison Butker.
You have Harrison Butker just giving his thoughts on women's rights and such things. It just seems to be that there's rumors. Have you heard about this? There's rumors that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift may be having some distance issues. Oh no, say it isn't true.
Well, I mean, look, these things can certainly affect the locker room. They certainly can. If there's a team out there that can withstand some of this stuff, it's the Chiefs.
Dan, last one?
Yes. So for my non-sports question of the night, because this news just came across the wire, ding a ding, ding a ding, 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 ding.
It's usually the producer's spot to play a news drop there, but that's okay. Go ahead, Dan.
It's fine. It's Brody doesn't know what the breaking news drop is yet.
I could probably find
the acapella version of it was good enough.
It was fun. It was great. I loved it.
Yes.
8 out of 10.
Did.
Gentlemen, we are now finally experiencing the death of Hard Knocks. Yes, it is true. Hard Knocks is over.
Thank God.
Hard Knocks is dead.
Thank God.
Hard Knocks should never be on TV ever, 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 ever again.
You remember when we told them this wasn't supposed to be sports related?
Because they have chosen their team this year, and it is the Chicago Bears.
Oh, I thought you meant it was actually
Buy or
over.
sell that Hard Knocks is definitely dead.
Hard Knocks
because
hasn't been
they're
cool for like
putting
10
in-
seasons. Can we stop doing this?
It's
Like
been
nobody
a
wants
while.
it. It's all edited and documented to be whatever the coaches want you to see. It's not good. It's not must-see television anymore. It's not a unique concept. It sucks. Move on. Stop doing it.
The last time Hard Knocks was cool was like the year they did the Bengals.
Yeah, which was like 7 seasons ago, by the way.
Or maybe even more than that. But since then, it's all just been PR propaganda. There's not.
Hey, look how
anything-
cool Aaron Rodgers is the Jets quarterback
There's
is.
not anything real.
Hey, you guys remember when the Jets got Aaron Rodgers? Hey, have you seen Aaron Rodgers in the Jets uniform? Hey, look, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it's not a good show anymore. It's run its course.
Northwestern has built their facility by the lake, and they've unveiled it right next to Lake Michigan. Are you concerned about this? I mean, we talk about the wind being a factor in Lincoln. I mean, are you going to hammer the under on made field goals inside that stadium this season?
Interesting. I don't know. It looks like a high school stadium in small town Texas.
Sure does. Just happened to be right next to Lake Michigan.
Yep.
Hey, if you missed the buy or sell segment tonight, it was brought to you by our friends at Forsman's Finest Decks, and you can find it at soundcloud.com/after-hours1620. If you're wanting to enjoy the finer things in life, maybe you look out in your backyard, there's just a slab of concrete sitting in your backyard with nothing on it. Have the finest deck builders in Omaha come build you a deck, put a cover on it, not only keep up the Joneses, but blow the Joneses out of the water with a fine deck from Forsman's Finest Decks. Head over to forsmansfinest.com to have your dream deck built this summer. We're going to talk about stadiums in the Big Ten. We come back on the other side of the break here on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, everybody. John here for Best Real Estate. Have you ever wondered how people make money investing in real estate? Have you ever wondered if that's something that you could do? If you have questions, or maybe you're looking to buy a house, maybe you've got a house to sell, whatever it is, you can get those answers from Amber Best. Call 402-916-0482. Yeah, 402-916-0482. No matter what your question about real estate is, Amber's going to have the answer. So give her a call tonight and get your real estate questions answered.
Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Mostly cloudy Thursday afternoon with a high today of 78 and southeasterly wind gusts possible up to 25 miles an hour. Spotty to scattered showers and thunderstorms here this afternoon and tonight, a few of which may contain large hail, strong wind gusts, and isolated flash flooding also possible. A low tonight of 60. Scattered thunder showers for your Friday, a high tomorrow of 73. I'm meteorologist Caitlin Harvey with KETV News Watch 7.
Graduation season will be here before you know it, and you can have the 402 barbecue truck come to your party or event you're hosting. Stop by the Brick and Mortar on 84th and Spring and try the food. Then, when you get the craving, come back and book the food truck to be the caterer for your event. Graduations, company outings, community events, they do it all. 402 Barbecue at 3027 South 84th Street. Stop by today and grab lunch.
Are you dreaming of your business dominating local Google searches, drawing in customers effortlessly? Look no further. I'm Courtney, the Google gal from Pixel Fire Marketing. Need assistance with your Google business profile? From verification to boosting reviews, fixing maps, to tackling annoying Google calls? I've got you covered. Your profile sets you apart and ensures you're the top choice for local customers. Visit fixmygbp.com for our $99 special offer. Click fixmygbp.com for more details.
When you shop local, you help strengthen our community. So if you need roof repair, gutters, siding, even windows, call local Pyramid Roofing. They're the #1 roofer in Omaha for more than a dozen years. Let Pyramid Roofing come and give you a free estimate. Give them a call at 402-502-9300. That's 402-502-9300. Or visit them online at
PyramidRoof.com. Never settle for less.
Spring has sprung, so get to Jerry Ryan's and celebrate. They have polos, shorts, sport coats, and golf shirts. Regular fit and trim fit, they have it all. Jerry Ryan offers $50 off any purchase of $250 or more. Spend $500 and get $100 off. If you're hitting the summer golf fundraiser circuit, spend $1,000 and Jerry Ryan will take $200 off your total purchase. Get to 78th and Dodge and bring in spring.
At Jerry Ryan's, we bring out the best in you.
Hey fellas, listen up. Are you or someone you know ready to make that big day unforgettable? Look no further than Lovebound Media, your go-to for capturing the epic moments of your wedding. With Lovebound, it's not just about photos and videos, it's about creating a story that screams you. From the jaw-dropping shots to the heart-pounding video edits, they'll make sure your wedding day is nothing short of legendary. So if you're ready to say I do to memories that'll make you feel like a king, hit them up at Lovebound Media today. Let's make magic happen.
Now back to After Hours with Jimmy Allen on 1620 The Zone.
$7:20 on a Thursday night here on 1620 Zone. Unfortunately for you, fortunate for us, the last After Hours broadcast of the week, we will not be on tomorrow night. We unfortunately have to let Dan Campen have a night off, gets a vacation, then he gets an extra day off. What a slacker. Yeah. I want to talk about the stadiums in the Big Ten. We were just talking about Northwestern before we went to break. And obviously the folks in Evanston have put in a ton of money into their facilities now. We just talked last week about the renovations coming to Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley as well. Obviously there's an influx of cash, but when we talk about the TV deals, etc. And there's some people that are appealing this House versus the NCAA lawsuit, and there's a lot of people that are not happy about it. Do you think when we hear about these stadiums being built, and if this stadium or if this lawsuit presses on, people are still put on the hook for these billions of dollars, maybe we see a pause on these upgrades in facilities, or is there enough private money that's not going to matter? Do you think?
What was Penn State's $700 million renovation plan? Nebraska's South Stadium was what?
$525.
Yeah. So those are big numbers. Breaking news.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
I mean, it's almost like we talk about hundreds of millions of dollars, and the fact that it's not billions, people don't bat an eye at it.
But what we're talking about also is that the Big Ten is expected to, over the next 6 years, have an average payout for media rights of $80 to $100 million per school.
That's a lot of money, folks.
So,
do you think the people in Piscataway just sit back and try to figure out how they got into this situation? Like, how the hell are we here?
It's the Paul Rudd meme.
Yeah, exactly.
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought?
Not me.
Yeah.
I think they're worried about a lot of other things in Piscataway, New Jersey than their football team and their stadium renovations.
Yeah.
They're trying to pump out esteemed alumni.
You know who's not going to be renovating their stadium anytime soon? Rutgers. They're going to take all that money and put it in a savings account somewhere and let it build up. But no, it's just incredible to me that we're talking about these hundreds of millions of dollars in renovations. And obviously Nebraska's put theirs on pause. But while we're also talking about paying players, paying former players, settling lawsuits, and it's just like everybody's like, yeah, but it'd be really cool if we had seatbacks. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like there's been this thought around college football that we can't pay these players because we don't have the money. What feels like
do.
What feels like, but it felt like you did before too. Like there's always, I think about the addition of like basically unlimited coaches on coaching staffs, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not. College football coaches get paid money to coach football.
A lot of it.
And it's not exactly a cheap dollar amount. And there's plenty of money for that. If Brian Kelly wants 64 coaches on his staff, I think they're going to find a way to find a way to pay those guys. But I think about Matt Rule's
those
staff
are
too.
Analysts.
But look at what Matt Rule has done since he's got here. He's got a nutritionist. You've got a psychologist. You've got multiple strength coaches. You've got all these people that are quote unquote football staff members, but really do something other than coaching football. And not to single out Nebraska here, and obviously James Franklin does this. Jim Harbaugh was really the first one to really kind of bring this idea into the equation and bring that NFL model back to college.
Player personnel.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, there's always been enough money for those guys, or I don't know if you got to go big project you just raised money for and put $100 million next to Memorial Stadium. You got that pretty quickly. But when it's just one of those things that it seems like it's a convenience. Is there enough money? No, if we don't want to spend it. Is there enough money if we want to? Well, yeah, we've got plenty of money. Why wouldn't we have the budget for it?
Yeah. Here's what I think. I think because right now there's so much uncertainty in what this all looks like, I think you're going to see some pauses on things, which Nebraska's done.
And this has been the most incredible thing to me is like the timing in which that we're dealing with things right now with the development of bringing pay for play in house. and the House versus NCAA lawsuit, this is when we're hearing about these stadiums being built.
I mean, Northwestern's in a really interesting spot right now because they've committed now. They've torn down their stadium.
Yeah.
They're building a new one, and they're doing it amid all this turmoil as far as where do the dollars go.
Well, not even that turmoil. I mean, they're dealing in the dust settling of the Pat Fitzgerald scandal and everything that happened after that, and they just kept their foot on the gas and haven't pivoted.
Sure.
And I think they've got a really good head coach now, too.
I think you will see, as far as a facility standpoint, a lot of schools are going to wait and see. Things that may have been in the works. Maybe we've contacted an architect about potentially doing this thing or that thing. I think schools are just going to wait and see, wait till this all shakes out. And then, but on the back end, look, the TV money is not going away. It's not getting smaller. Nobody's going to lose money on their TV deals.
Right.
Eventually, all of these capital projects are going to come back and everybody's going to get it done. Like Memorial Stadium's getting renovated at some point. It might not be tomorrow.
And it's not like it hasn't happened before. I mean, we're not that far removed from when they added that extension on the top of the East Stadium anyway. Like, that scoreboard on top of the North Stadium isn't that old in retrospect. Like the Husker Vision stuff is barely 24 years old now. It's like that stuff is still in layman's terms still pretty relatively new.
I mean, West Stadium was built in the late 90s.
Yeah, and
the whole facade.
Yeah, they put those club level seats in, and probably one of the most difficult time to get the material to do it. So it's not like you can really question whether or not it's when it happens now. And
it's all going to happen. We're waiting for the dust to settle on all these lawsuits.
It's really hard to see a world in which you build that go big project next to Memorial Stadium and then look at the ancient artifact that you have sitting next to it and go, one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with all the facade and exterior work they've done to it, it doesn't look that old anymore.
Yeah.
The bones are very old.
Speaking of the program, 45 minutes down the road on I-80, their baseball program is headed to the big dance. Grant Hansen from Husker Online is going to join us, give us his thoughts on Will Bolt's team winning the Big Ten tournament for the first time and making the College World Series bracket. We're going to get his thoughts. Talk to Grant from Husker Online on 3 on the other side of the break. We come back on 1620 The Zone. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Pyramid Roofing Contractors. If your house has been dinged up a little bit by the hail over the last couple of weeks, maybe that loud thunderclap we heard just a minute ago was a tree being struck in your neighborhood, and you got a big limb land on the top of your roof, and it needs to be repaired. Go with local and go with trust. Don't go with a fly-by-night company that's from out of town that's going to be here for a cup of coffee and going to be gone by the time you have questions. Pyramid Roof has been voted the number one roofer in Omaha 12 consecutive years for a reason. They are a locally trusted contractor right here in the heart of Omaha over off 53rd and Center. Go to pyramidroof.com tonight, book a free estimate, and have your questions answered this spring.
The dream of playing the sport you love may be closer than you think. The Bellevue University Athletic Department proudly sports the best scholarship funding among NAIA programs in the state. To compete with the best, we need to recruit the best. All incoming freshmen earn a $5,000 scholarship when they enroll at Bellevue University. Learn more by looking us up at BUBruins.com and reach out to your future coach today.
Are you ready to elevate your taste buds? Look no further than Pepper Jacks, your go-to destination for bold flavors and endless choices. Dive into their mouth-watering rice bowls, crisp salads, hearty Phillies, savory burritos, and loaded nachos. What sets them apart? Complete customization. Choose your base, proteins, toppings, and sauces for a personalized culinary adventure. At Pepper Jacks, it's not just a meal, it's an experience. Unleash your cravings and savor the bold tastes at Pepper Jacks today. Life's too short for bland. Spice it up at Pepper Jacks.
When you shop local, you help strengthen our community. So if you need roof repair, gutters, siding, even windows, call local Pyramid Roofing. They're the number one roofer in Omaha for more than a dozen years. Let Pyramid Roofing come and give you a free estimate. Give them a call at 402-502-9300. That's 402-502-9300. Or visit them online at
PyramidRoof.com. Never settle for less.
When you think Caddyshack, you think about an unforgettable dining experience. Stop in for Meatloaf Monday for just $10.95. Tuesdays are all about the happy with dollar drinks during all-day happy hour. Celebrate a Wing Wednesday with after hours. Thursday is spaghetti night for $10.95 a plate. Or grab some lunch on Fridays with the $12.95 hot beef sandwich. Caddyshack, 2 great locations off of 117th and Blondo and 180th and Harrison. The official watering hole of After Hours on 1620 The Zone.
Hey fellas, listen up. Are you or someone you know ready to make that big day unforgettable? Look no further than Lovebound Media, your go-to for capturing the epic moments of your wedding. With Lovebound, it's not just about photos and videos, it's about creating a story that screams you. From the jaw-dropping shots to the heart-pounding video edits, they'll make sure your wedding day is nothing short of legendary. So if you're ready to say I do to memories that'll make you feel like a king, hit them up at Lovebound Media today. Let's make magic happen.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/radio and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Now back to After Hours with Jimmy Allen on 1620 The Zone.
$7:31 on a Thursday night here on 1620 The Zone on John Schreiner's After Hours program. We're waiting to get a hold of Grant Hansen from Husker Online to talk about Will Bolt's team heading down to the Stillwater Regional. We're having some technical difficulties getting a hold of him. Transfer changes are coming. It looks like the NCAA is outlawing the possibility of bringing out the 1-year sit-out rule. According to CNN, they've said that essentially it's illegal to ask a student athlete to do that. And in wake of everything that happened with Justin Fields, the transfer from Georgia to Ohio State, and several other situations where there's been players that have said they've been mistreated, it's not really surprising to hear this. And I didn't know how they were going to be able to put the tooth back in the toothpaste tube anyway.
Yeah, people have been saying this for a long time, right? Like coaches have freedom of movement. Coaches can up and leave at any given time. Why
Other
can't
students
players?
can.
Yeah. Like if you're in the band, you can go and transfer to a different school and play in their band right away. Like,
you just can't be out on the field.
Right. So I think it's the fairest decision for the student athletes.
Someone that may have taken this is Grant Hansen from Husker Online, who joins us here on the After Hours program. Grant, good evening, sir. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Hey, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Are you down in Stillwater?
Oh yeah. I've been down. Got here yesterday.
How was the drive? Did you run into the storms on the way down there?
Uneventful. Yeah, it was very smooth.
It's not a bad problem.
There's the most exciting thing. There's a dead armadillo on the side of the road. So that was about it.
Did you pick it up and take it with you?
No, I did not. I did not. But as I was driving by it, I was like, oh wow, I guess I am south enough. So.
Hey, one of the most critical things about the Big Ten run was the fact that Will Bolton staff does not start Brett Sears on the opening day of Big Ten tournament play. What was your reaction to that in real time when you heard the news?
Well, I think originally there was some. I think maybe for about 5 minutes I was a little bit surprised, and then the more I thought about it, the more it became immediately obvious that it was the right decision. Even if they had gone 0-2 in that tournament, it still would have been the right decision. And you just can't bring your top guy back on 4 days rest after he threw more than 90 pitches, and your regional fate is already sealed at that point. You're in, you're going to be a 2 seed. To be honest, I don't even know if Nebraska winning the Big Ten tournament did much to change its draw, simply just because, for the most part, the NCAA, in fact, not even just for the most part, the NCAA only seeds the first 16 teams. And after that, it's just a mix of location and competitive balance. And so, in all likelihood, Nebraska was going to either Norman, Stillwater, or Fayetteville, no matter what it did at the Big Ten tournament. So, and then as it happened, it worked out exactly like they had planned in some ways. I mean, obviously, I don't think they planned to lose the first game, but you had Brett Sears there for the elimination game. And then in the event that you make it to Sunday's championship game, you can bring him in a closed sort of situation, which is exactly what they did.
Hey, Grant, I think especially after that opening round loss and the fashion that Nebraska lost that game and all of those midweek losses, the questions around this team were like, how invested are they actually? Are they actually locked in? And then after they went on the run to win the Big Ten tournament, I think it opened some people's eyes. Have we put all those questions to bed now about the toughness and mentality of this team?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it was already, I think it's immensely frustrating for Nebraska fans and players to lose to Creighton, right? Which is where a lot of this is coming from. Obviously, the South Dakota State loss was difficult for people to stomach. And I would say was probably the most perplexing and weirdest loss that I've seen covering the team for 3 years. But I think people that maybe, unless you're really, really plugged in, probably didn't realize that Creighton was a top 50 RPI team pretty much all year long. They were pretty good. And
a lot of people
against the Big East.
A lot of people had them as a lock to make the tournament at one point.
Right. And in April, they were. I mean, their midweek record obviously was perfect. They had played the right teams. They had scheduled the right way. And in fact, if they had maybe even just made the Big East tournament, they'd be an at-large team right now. So Creighton was better than people thought. And I think because they hadn't been as good in the past and Nebraska had lost them, there was definitely just some stomach churning on that front. It's tough for fans to stomach. And the players hate it. I mean, like, if you had been on the field, talking to the players post-game after any of those losses, it would have been immediately obvious to you that the idea that they didn't care enough about those games was ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that ever really was a true thing other than just an outside narrative. But even if it was true, I think you can definitely put it to bed after what they did. And so much of it, thanks to starting pitching, which was perfect, really, throughout the majority of that tournament.
They got a little bit of help from the bats, though. Josh Caron hits 6 home runs in the tournament. Is it as simple to think that Nebraska is going to need a similar heroic effort from somebody else in Stillwater to maybe make it to a super regional?
Yeah, and because what you've been missing is the slugging piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's been missing really from the offense all year long. They're incredibly skilled when it comes to setting the table. They can get guys on, get them over, get them in. But when you're playing so many 1-run, 2-run games late, you're bound to have some things not go your way eventually. And Nebraska ran into that. I mean, you saw the first month and a half of the season, you were leading college baseball in saves. And you have no real true closer on this team. And so you had 3 or 4 different guys with multiple saves, and it wasn't sustainable. At some point, there were going to be slip-ups. And so you need guys like Josh Caron, like Gabe Swanson, to extend leads in the middle innings, take advantage of those middle inning bullpen arms of your opponent before they bring in their top-level guys for the 8th and 9th. That's what Nebraska was missing, and that's what they got this past weekend, and that's what they'll need to have throughout this week to keep pace with teams like Oklahoma State and Florida, who are incredibly talented offensively.
Grant Hansen from Husker Online and On3 joins us here on After Hours. Let's take a look at tomorrow. Nebraska draws an SEC school with their first outing. Florida will be waiting for them, albeit loaded with talent. Has had some shortfalls this season. A lot of people feel like if they didn't have somebody sitting on the tournament committee, they may not be in this position in the first place. Do you think Nebraska should win this game and maybe favored?
It's tough to say that. I mean, it's difficult to tell even really what this Florida team is to some extent. Look, I mean, they lost the majority of their SEC series, but they have an SEC. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, they beat Texas A&M in an SEC series in March. They beat Georgia to get in. I mean, if they don't take the series from Georgia at the end of the year, they finish below 500 and are not in the tournament. So that was a back against the wall sort of situation. And the pedigree is ridiculous for this program. I mean, they made 16 straight regionals under Coach O'Sullivan, and that's the second longest streak in the country. So it's a dangerous team full of experience. And when you get in and you have guys like Jack Caglione, you're going to be in a good position to win the 3 games you need to win in one weekend, or 4, as the case may be, to get where you need to go. So it's going to be difficult. I mean, there's no real way around it, especially with the way that the ballpark plays and all that. And you're going to see really how good Brett Sears is this week. The key is just going to be free passes. I mean, you cannot let a 1-run home run turn into a 2 or 3-run home run. You put 2 or 3 guys on ahead. So you're going to solo shots. You can live with that. You get hit 2 or 3 times on a solo shot, still a 3-0 game at that point, and it's still manageable. But 2 or 3 2-run bombs or 3-run bombs, and then things get out of hand real quick. And the way this regional has played the last few years at this park, there's a propensity for that if you don't limit those mistakes.
Grant, I wonder about coaching experience in this matchup, because Kevin O'Sullivan is a guy who's been there, done that, brought home the hardware, right? And Will Bolt, while he's taken teams to the postseason before, it's never gone quite right in the postseason. Where do you think the coaching experience lines up? It's obviously tilted toward one side, but is that a big factor here?
I mean, I think so, but you got to realize too, the collective, you have Rob Childress with you in the dugout too, and that's incredibly helpful, right? That's a guy that's Coach Bolt's mentor. That's a guy that he's leaned on throughout the year for advice and experience, and he's an invaluable piece of this staff. So I think when it comes down to experience, yeah, I mean, I guess you could probably say edge to Coach O'Sullivan, but just the complete body of work, I think Nebraska isn't on the outs here when it comes to that.
You brought him up a minute ago. Any part of you really excited to see Jack Aglione out on the field?
He's huge. I mean,
yeah.
I just I can't completely, unless you've seen him in person up close, it's hard to kind of get an idea of what it's really like. You just see him and it's like, this guy mashes. Like, it's very obvious. So we'll see what again, right? I believe, and I hope I haven't been misquoting this. I've said it more than once this week, but he has the longest home run of the StatCast era, if I remember right, which is well over 500 feet. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out this week. I'm guessing he'll definitely get a hold of one at least once.
You are correct, by the way. 516 feet.
Okay, that's the number I was using. So I'm glad I wasn't just spreading rampant false information.
Well, you're on the show with Jimmy Allen, so you don't have to worry about that.
All the right fact checking, buddy. All the right fact checking.
So, all right. So if we're talking about at the end of this weekend, Nebraska moving on, they've won this region, they're into a super regional. What are the key factors? What did Nebraska do right on the weekend?
They started 2-0.
Yeah.
I think that is, for any team to win a regional, that's your path, right? For Nebraska, it's really, really hard for me to see them not winning the regional if they start 2-0. Just because of the pitching advantage they're going to have. A couple of good, Oklahoma State has 2 guys at their top of their rotation with ERAs between 3 and 3.3. So they're going to be in a good spot if they can go, 2-0. Florida, you'll have Liam Peterson tomorrow, who has a 2.3 ERA over his last 5 starts, or 5 appearances rather. And then you'll have Jack Caglione right after that. So for every team, really, that's kind of the goal. If you go 2-0, you're going to be in a great spot. And you definitely have to win the first game. Of the last 64 teams to win a regional, only 3 have done it after dropping their opener, and only 1 in the last 2 years, and that was Southern Miss as a 1 seed last year.
What has been the disconnect between the national media, the people around here, and this team? Obviously, Kendall Rogers and the guys over at D1 Baseball at one point had Nebraska as a top 25 team, as a potential host for a regional this year, and then we kind of talked about the midweek struggles for this team locally, and it felt like everybody around here kind of had a gauge on this team's shortcomings. What do you think has been the miss between what the potential of this team is and what they've and kind of some of the hurdles that they've run into?
I don't know. I think it's just I think there's a certain amount of what happened last year that sticks on a lot of people's craws. Just in terms of, you had 2 guys who were just could basically do no wrong in terms of the home runs they were hitting. They were both high draft picks. And because of midweeks, you end up falling short of making a regional. I mean, if you flip their 5 worst midweek losses from a year ago, they're in a very similar position to where they are right now. Now, Nebraska addressed that. That's part of the problem too. I think the midweek narrative is something that really is, baseball falls in a weird spot because the beginning of the season is right at the end of college basketball, and then you go immediately into spring football. And so a lot of people, I think, generally, unless you're a diehard or a season ticket holder, you're following the team very, very casually from afar, from basically when the year starts in February until May. And so what you remember from last year is, the team struggled in midweeks. And what you got a big taste of in April was the team struggling in midweeks without maybe realizing that, the reason they were doing that was because they had scheduled much harder in the midweek. They picked up Kansas. They dropped 2 of their games against UNO. They did not play North Dakota State multiple times. They took Northern Colorado off the schedule. And so they upped the competition in the midweek, which is what they needed. Right. And unfortunately weren't able to close out a lot of those games and turn them into wins. They could be hosting. And that is also one thing that maybe bothers people, is that this is a team that was definitely at some points in the year capable of hosting a regional. They fall just short. And so because of that, you kind of lose sight of the fact that they won a Big Ten tournament championship, the first in program history. They've won 39 wins, which is the most wins since 2014. And they're in a regional for the first time since 21, So I think that's part of it. And then there's also the element that, Nebraska is, I don't know if mid-major is the right word, but the Big Ten is not like a full Power 5 conference when it comes to baseball. But Nebraska fans support it well above maybe where the national perception is. So I think that's part of it too, that maybe shifts things.
And we're catching up with Grant Hansen from Husker Online and On 3. Grant, before we get you out of here, I kind of jokingly asked you about the weather on the drive down, but last time Nebraska was in Stillwater to play in a regional, they had to play in Oklahoma City because of the weather. Do we know what the weather's going to look like tomorrow and this weekend?
Yeah, I'm not. There could be some rain in the schedule tomorrow. Nebraska is the 2:00 game. Because of rain, Nebraska didn't get to practice on the field at O'Brate today. So they were in batting cages. They were able to play some catch outside on the turf practice field, but they really had to kind of cut things short today. They'll get some BP tomorrow before the game, and they're not really super concerned about it. They talked about in the media session today how they didn't hit on the field for the most part of the CWS for a lot of their BP. So they're not super freaked out about that. There is some amount of rain maybe in the schedule tomorrow. So just, again, stay to your local, friendly neighborhood baseball writer at Hansen, not Hansen on Twitter. And then for any weather updates, and of course the Nebraska baseball Twitter account. But I think with the 2:00 game, Nebraska game certainly will get in tomorrow. And then it's just a matter of how late the next game will start, which I don't think it's a huge deal. I mean, I'm not foreseeing a significant delay tomorrow of any kind if it happens.
I lied. I got one more question for you. You brought up Rob Childress, and obviously with Lance Harville on that staff as well. Who is the most interesting personality in that dugout?
Oh, that's tough. Because there are a lot of fun guys on this team.
Absolutely.
And Josh Overbeek is definitely one of them. He is from a player perspective, he is as old school as it gets. I mean, his helmet's covered in pine tar. He's huge. He just doesn't look like he would run well, but he's second on the team in stolen bases. He's always been a good quote this year, and it's because I think part of what makes this Nebraska team so fun is so many of the big contributors are junior college guys who were last year playing in front of maybe 100 to 200 people, and this year, they are obviously getting a lot more media attention, and then they also have a lot more people who are interested in how they play and that sort of thing. And because of that, they're very, very genuine when it comes to those media sessions and quotes. And Overbeek is definitely one of those guys. So it is a fun team. I mean, they are very, very down to earth and pretty old school, like their coaching staff.
If you ever want a really good chuckle out of Lance Harville, ask him Tupac or Biggie, and he'll just laugh for like 3 minutes, by the way.
Okay.
That one's for free.
Okay,
Again,
I'll next time I see him today or tomorrow or whenever, I'll see if I can squeeze that in.
That's great. Hansen from Husker Online. As you mentioned, you can follow him at Hansen, Hansen, not Hansen, Hanson on Twitter. Grant, thanks for your time today. Have fun down Stillwater. We'd love to catch up with you next week.
Hey, you bet. Thank you guys. And hopefully they make it to that super regional and we can.
That's what we're looking forward to, buddy. Have fun while you're down there. We'll hopefully be talking to you about a couple of wins on the other side of the weekend. Grant Hansen, Husker Online. Follow all of his work at HuskerOnline.com. We're going to win you some money on the other side of the break, but if you missed any of Grant's segment tonight, check it out at SoundCloud.com/AfterHours1620. It was brought to you by Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. Listen, if you maybe you're on your way down to Stillwater and you just want some lightweight clothes that are going to be able to be enjoyable for the ride or be out in a baseball stadium. It's supposed to be a little warm down there. It's Oklahoma in May. It'd be weird if it wasn't. Stop by Jerry Ryan. Grab yourself a polo. Grab yourself a couple polos you can get on the links with this summer as well. They've been dressing Omaha for over 50 years. You don't do that by accident. Stop by 78th and Dodge. Tell Dan, John, and the crew that we sent you over there. Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. Stop by tomorrow. Get your fit game right.
Hey, everybody. John Schreiner here for Williams Law. It's summertime, and the kids are out of school. And what do they have? Free time. What do kids do in their free time? Well, some of them make mistakes. If you know a youngster that has gotten into a little bit of trouble or may find themselves running with that bad crowd, well, have no fear. Williams Law is here to help. Whether it's big trouble, whether it's little trouble, whether you just want to know your rights, Williams Law can help. Call 402-522-6317. They're going to give you a free, no obligation legal consultation, no matter what size the trouble. It's Williams Law.
Are you looking to be part of a winning tradition? The Bellevue University Bruins could be the right fit for you. Whether on the court or on the field, track or course, our student athletes strive and succeed. This year, Bellevue teams and individuals have combined to win 11 conference championships, with 8 teams qualifying for their national tournaments. Plus, nearly 50 student athletes were also named to all conference teams. Find out more about our tradition of excellence at BUBruins.com.
When you think Caddyshack, you think about an unforgettable dining experience. Stop in for Meatloaf Monday for just $10.95. Tuesdays are all about the happy with dollar drinks during all-day happy hour. Celebrate a Wing Wednesday with After Hours. Thursday is Spaghetti Night for $10.95 a plate. Or grab some lunch on Fridays with the $12.95 hot beef sandwich. Caddyshack. 2 great locations off of 117th and Blondo and 180th and Harrison. The official watering hole of After Hours on 1620 The Zone.
Hey fellas, listen up. Are you or someone you know ready to make that big day unforgettable? Look no further than Lovebound Media, your go-to for capturing the epic moments of your wedding. With Lovebound, it's not just about photos and videos, it's about creating a story that screams you. From the jaw-dropping shots to the heart-pounding video edits, they'll make sure your wedding day is nothing short of legendary. So if you're ready to say I do to memories that'll make you feel like a king, hit them up at Lovebound Media today. Let's make magic happen. Are you ready to elevate your taste buds? Look no further than Pepper Jacks, your go-to destination for bold flavors and endless choices. Dive into their mouth-watering rice bowls, crisp salads, hearty Phillies, savory burritos, and loaded nachos. What sets them apart? Complete customization. Choose your base, proteins, toppings, and sauces for a personalized culinary adventure. At Pepper Jacks, it's not just a meal, it's an experience. Unleash your cravings and savor the bold tastes at Pepper Jacks today. Life's too short for bland. Spice it up at Pepper Jacks.
Going Vertical Basketball Academy is the premier sports performance training facility in the Midwest. Working with athletes as young as kindergarten all the way to college and the pros, GVBA offers a variety of packages from individual workouts to group sessions. They also offer elite-level sports performance training for athletes of all sports. Check out the Academy at 10700 Sap Brothers Drive in Omaha or at GoingVerticalOmaha.com. That's GoingVerticalOmaha.com.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. RAMP.com/sports.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
You are listening to After Hours with Jimmy Allen on 1620 The Zone.
The question needs to be asked, John Schreiner. What do we want for dinner after the Dallas Mavericks absolutely mollywop the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Big fan of Mexican food. I'll tell you, I'm a big fan.
What's your go-to?
I don't have a go-to. I'm all over the place, man. I go to as many different ones as I can.
Las Esmeraldas on 36th and Q. Really good, authentic Mexican food. I'm not ashamed to admit that I love La Mesa.
Oh, dude, La Mesa's out by my house. I hit that one.
It's everywhere now. There's like 64 of them.
La Mesa's really good.
Taqueria El Rey.
Also a good choice.
Yes.
Love
their truck.
Is Julio's still open? I used to love Julio's.
No, they closed 2 years ago, I think. Wait, where's Julio's? It's the one
It was
on
downtown.
Oh no, I'm thinking of Jeremiah's. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
24th and Harris, or not 24th and Harris, 24th and Vinton.
Moolah.
Moolah's fantastic.
Hector's is underrated.
I got suplexed in a wrestling ring at Moolah one time.
The green chili burrito at Hector's is fantastic.
The green chili burrito at Louis M's Burger Lust in on 24 on speaking of Vinton, 17th and Vinton, game changer. It'll change your life. My mouth literally just started watering thinking about it. My mouth also starts watering when I think about winning money, and that's what we're gonna do here for you. But Dan, you had a hot take you wanted to get in before we get out of here.
Oh yeah. So I was watching the Le Batard program the other day, and they had comedian and should be host of the Daily Show, Roy Wood Jr. on. And he was like, I'm going to tell you right now who's going to win the NBA Finals. It's going to be the same exact situation as last year. It's going to be the unsmiling white guy.
Luka Doncic smiles all the time.
From the Eastern European country.
Luka Doncic is like the happiest dude on the planet. You ever see him chuck a basketball at the back of Jokic's head? He looked like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
But
they're from
terrible take.
unsmiling Eastern European countries.
They're not unsmiling human beings, so that's a bad take.
They are not.
Good take. Dallas Mavericks are going to win tonight on the money line. You can get them right now at -110. Give me the Rangers on the money line at home, also at +105 right now. The Yankees are going to absolutely destroy the Angels in LA tonight. Those are my three picks, John Schreiner.
I'm taking a live line on the Panthers. You can get +270 on them right now. We are at the end of the first period. It's 0-0. I'm going to take the Oilers tomorrow +110 over the Stars. And if you force me to, I will also take the live line on the Mavericks tonight.
Attaboy.
Just like me, this parlay has 3 legs. Give me the Yankees tonight.
Dan, you're canceled.
Thank you. Give me the Yankees.
I don't even know what to say right now.
You're absolutely 100%. End the show. Brody, cut it off.
Yeah, that's been the After Hours Lounge. Dan, you don't get to talk anymore. If you missed any of our show tonight, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. You can always find our radio replays on 1620thezone.com, where hopefully this segment has been edited by the time it reaches the replay. For Dan Campbell, Brody Heineman, John Schreiner, I've been Jimmy Allen. Happy National Mint Julep Day, everybody.
Drink one.
Connor McDavid, anytime goal scorer.